Okay.
Fucking review show.
Yeah. That was a take.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's just good luck.
Yeah. You know, that's what Ouija means, according to the Ouija board.
Good luck.
The Ouija board, allegedly by the creators of Ouija board, the Ouija board named itself. And when they asked, what does that mean? The answer was good luck. So like, but we don't know. Is that like good luck? Like, hey, I bestow upon you good luck. Or is that like a threatening good luck?
That's a
like,
threat.
Ha. Yeah, when your board tells you good
You don't
luck.
trust anything where the first two syllables of its name don't sound like what the actual letters are.
Okay, but that's like anything in traditional like Gaelic language, I think, right? Like none of that shit's spelled
It's
the way
actually
it sounds in English.
Ouija.
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 Yes, for Gile. It's from Italy. It's
From the creators of GIF. Welcome to That Fucking Review Show, the show where three assholes watch something and give you their opinion about it. I'm your host, Tony Shalhoub's back hair.
Motherfucker. And I am the producer, Francis Ford Coppola.
And I'm Dirk Diggler.
What was it? $5 to see it, 15 to watch him jerk off.
Jesus Christ.
That was good money for back in that day, man.
It was, yeah.
All right, cool. So, today we have something a little special for our listeners. Something that's near and dear to my heart, almost like the RoboCop episode. Mm-hmm. But we are going to review the Star Wars sequel trilogy, but not just review it, discuss which one we feel is the worst one. And if you're a true Star Wars fan, then you already know which one's the worst one. But if you're an asshole like the other two that I'm sitting here with, we're going to have an argument.
Listen, these movies are very controversial in that the fan base can't agree on which is the worst. I feel like most of them can agree on which is the best, but the worst, it always comes down to two. But I think there's, you know, there's a minority of people that would feel that there is one movie that would be deemed the worst, but, you know. But yes, I think this is a very interesting topic because it's really just picking apart what's good about these movies and what sucks about them at the same time. So.
Well, what I think is really incredible about it is that we've been having the same conversation about the same franchise for like 40 years now.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's like, I think that's a testament to human willpower.
To just that's a testament to our resolve.
Yeah, we're committed to this completely meaningless thing.
Yep. So, Star Wars has a near and dear place in my heart, as it does, I think, for all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
This is a film series. This film series in and of itself is completely different than any other film series. And some may argue, oh, Star Trek's kind of the same, but no, I don't think so. Only because Star Trek caters to a more adult audience, whereas Star Wars has such a like a wide banded scope of reach.
I agree with you, and just I don't want to go too far into this, but like my big thing and why I think that the original trilogy is the best is because I wasn't alive when that one came out. But I had to live through these other ones, so I don't feel great about that.
I don't feel good about this.
It's kind of the same with music, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I love music. Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and give you a review of each film in order. And then we're going to go ahead and go into an all-out free-for-all and literally argue about which one is the possibly worst one out of the new franchise. So we begin with The Force Awakens. Thoughts?
So what? Just dive in.
Just
now?
dive right in.
Yeah.
Fuck it. People
Least favorite one, worst one of the trilogy.
Really?
Of the new trilogy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, okay, but all right. So like, I hate using the phrase, "Oh, that's the worst one," because it, you know, makes it sound like that it's bad. It's not a bad movie. It's my least favorite one of that trilogy.
Right.
For the reason that it feels so much like a Disney movie, that I'm just not into it. You know, and
Really?
I just never really felt like Star Wars should be that route. Also, the first time I watched it, I felt like there was 3 writers working on the movie, and each one had a different idea about the direction of the film. And there was like 2 of them were like, oh yeah, no, we're gonna do this throwback to the way it was, but we're gonna modernize it, and like address some social issues. And then someone else was like a purist, a traditionalist, and they were like, no, it's got to be all about Darth Vader. And those 3 writers wrote themselves into the film as Finn, Rey, and Kylo.
That is
really
weirdest,
how I felt.
That's the first time I ever heard somebody say that one sounds like the most Disney.
Yeah.
It felt like the most Disney because
Yeah.
I think out of all of them, that one felt the most authentic to the original trilogy in the sense of what people wanted to see in a modernized Star Wars film.
I would say it's my favorite of the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when I saw it in the movie theater, that it was, except for when I saw The Dark Knight the first time, that it was the best movie theater experience I ever had watching that movie.
See, I kind of wish I would have seen it in the theaters, because Star Wars has always been, even the prequels, which we don't want to go into.
See, and I'm not that bad. I'm so like, and you guys know me. We've known each other for a very, very long time. The prequels were really good films in setup and scope and on paper. The problem with the prequels is the problem that George Lucas has in general, which is why he had so much support in the dialogue and writing aspect in the original trilogy, is George Lucas doesn't do character dialogue really, really well. It's really wooden, and he doesn't understand the concept of emotionality. He had the same problem in American Graffiti. So like his dialogue structure is really, really wooden, always. That's just who he is. Like he doesn't think that he talks like a robot, so he thinks everybody else talks like a robot.
Whenever you went to Skywalker Ranch, did you like, hello Albert, welcome to Skywalker Ranch?
But you can kind of get it from like and that's my only gripe. Like the prequel trilogy is good. This to me, I feel like the Force Awakens is my favorite film, and mostly because of the little subtleties that it sets up, which at the end of this conversation, we're going to talk about, but I called it from The Force Awakens what was going to happen, and I was pretty spot on from the get-go where the trilogy was going until we had a little road bump. But that aside, I think that movie sets up things with nuances. Like, it didn't overdo it. It did do a lot of stuff for nostalgia's sake in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, but I mean, I think everyone went into this knowing that was going to happen. I mean, like, we're revisiting a franchise that has been, a cultural movement for decades.
Exactly.
So, like, there's no way you can do a Star Wars movie without it feeling like a throwback.
Right. And you could tell like they were doing a lot of those nostalgic things because of the harsh criticisms of the prequels, where there was too much CGI, it didn't feel real, which is kind of unwarranted because a lot of the prequel trilogy are like large scale models and actual rooms and things like that.
That's true. They actually found a guy that could walk on his hands to play Sebulba. His hands are registered vehicles in the state of California.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, no.
So, all right. So The Force Awakens takes place 30 years after Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi.
The original trilogy capper. Focuses on a new set of characters.
Yep.
You had Rey, you had Finn, you had Poe, Kylo Ren, the new bad guy who happens to be the son of Han Solo and Leia.
Yep.
Also Luke Skywalker's nephew.
Exactly.
And pretty much deals with pretty much the fallout of the Empire. The death of the Empire just becomes the First Order.
Right. So it's almost like they're almost like an alternative sect.
Yeah.
It's like a splintered sect. Think of like the Nazis in Nazi Germany, and then now you have these factions after the fact that still support that cause, but that cause is kind of fleeting, but they've gained a lot of power and momentum.
That went really dark really fast.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're modeled off.
But they've gotten a lot bigger. They've had a bigger budget.
They
got a lot of followers. Yeah.
They got a lot more money in their pocket.
Again, we're talking about the First Order, not
the First
right?
Order. Yes.
Okay.
I know, given the current climate,
and that sort of pushes. You had. Kylo Ren and the First Order, they're trying to find Luke Skywalker just to put an end to the Jedi legacy once and for all.
Right.
And that kind of, you have Finn, who was a renegade stormtrooper.
Turncoat,
and that kind of just
Which I will
spearheads
say,
the entire film.
I think that was probably the coolest thing that they did in the entire.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
that was a really unique.
I don't know why I love it so much, but having a stormtrooper that all of a sudden becomes self-aware and is just like, whoa, like I don't have to be a part of this. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't know, man. I mean, we didn't really have that before. The stormtroopers were
we really
basically,
didn't, yeah.
they were none of. Because what they're clones, right?
Well, in the prequel trilogy, they're clones.
clones,
In the original trilogy, the clones have been stopped, and now they're
Okay.
just,
Died out or
they're just
whatever,
dudes
yeah.
in suits.
Okay.
So which explains why the it's like the juxtaposition of why they were so bad in the original trilogy at shooting and doing anything is because they're just regular Joe Schmo folks.
Yeah.
And in the prequels, they are like genetically engineered, trained to do their job. But yeah, it's essentially a gigantic setup movie done in the vein of classic George Lucas Indiana Jones style, where they're on an adventure and a mission. They have a point to get to, and then throughout the point, it sets up all these characters in unique ways because Rey's mysterious. You don't know who she is, and she has these weird connections and visions of a higher purpose that she doesn't understand. Kylo is essentially trying to. He doesn't recognize his grandfather as Anakin Skywalker, but he recognizes him as Darth Vader due to some sort of fallout that he had with Luke Skywalker. Han and Leia have been separated for years, and we find that Han is back to doing his old ways before the original trilogy, where he's just a smuggler and he's cheating everyone and he's falling himself into traps. And he's still that same dude, but he's a little more bittered and a little more adult about things. And then you have the new character Poe, who essentially is Han Solo 2.0 light.
Well, all right. I get where you're going
Yeah.
with that. I would say that because he's like the charming, charismatic, blow it up kind of guy. He's the risk taker.
He's a risk taker.
But he's Han Solo with I don't know, loyalty, duty.
Yeah.
He's the soldier Han Solo. He's the knight in shining armor Han Solo.
He's like the embodiment of what like a resistance maverick would be.
Yeah. Which I really like Poe. I think Poe's a fun character.
But I'll tell you what I liked about why I like the movie so much.
Yeah.
And why it's my favorite of the entire sequel trilogy is because, sitting in that movie theater, like, the last Star Wars movie that we had before that was Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
How in the prequel trilogies, however you or anyone feels about them,
Yeah.
You don't count the other, like Solo or Rogue One?
Well, those came after.
Did they really?
They did.
Yeah, they came after.
So,
I thought they came
and the prequel trilogies, even though are Star Wars, they didn't really feel like Star Wars.
Right.
So I remember distinctly just sitting in that seat watching this movie play, Force Awakens, and like feeling like this is
It's a Star
Wars.
Wars movie.
I haven't felt this way in a long time, and it really was like one of the best movie experiences I ever had, movie theater experiences I ever had, and it does. It sets up. I think that was the point. I think Force Awakens kind of gets some criticism for being maybe too much like A New Hope and not doing enough, plot wise. But it really was about just setting
The universe up.
setting it back up.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But as far as it not doing enough, I mean, and not that's not your criticism, but just if we can address that general criticism. Yeah, I disagree with that. I think it as a story, it did a lot, man. I mean, like we've already talked about
Absolutely, yeah,
absolutely,
Turncoat
yeah.
Stormtrooper. Like that's
And that's what I'm saying. It's just,
so people really don't think that one did enough.
people think
No.
it didn't do enough, or that it was too much like A New Hope. But that was
it was a lot like a New
Well,
Hope,
I think that, but that was the point.
Yeah.
it was to bring it back because they knew,
Yeah.
all right, not that they lost the plot with the prequels. I mean, it's just like it just didn't feel like Star Wars. So,
Yeah.
all right, if we're bringing back a new trilogy, J.J. Abrams just like I just want to make it feel like the way I felt when I saw the original
Exactly.
trilogy. And this is what the story I want to tell.
And the funny thing is what a lot of people misunderstand is that when George sold Star Wars, there was a slew between the original trilogy and the prequels, a slew of expanded universe things. People kind of already knew what happened after Return of the Jedi because it was set up in years in books and things like that, Thrawn trilogy, things like that. So I think what the Force Awakens did was, it did the same concept. Oh, there's a star killer base and it's gonna be a thing. This time it's a planet that they're using. But I think I said it from the beginning. There was always an underlying plot. Something wasn't right. It was too cookie cutter. And in that last scene with Rey and Kylo fighting, you kind of see it. And had it panned out, well, and I'll get to that later, but had it panned out, that movie would have been brilliant in the way that it set it up. Because it gave you the facade and the nostalgia of A New Hope. Like, oh my God, these people are on an adventure to save something. But in reality, what it was doing was setting up the pieces for a more dramatic twist. For something that was actually gonna topple over.
Yeah.
And I think what a lot of the criticisms that people give the film, I think are unwarranted, only because of the fact that they don't understand that's how the original trilogy was. That movie is the embodiment of the original trilogy. And people forget that the original trilogy started to tailor off come Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi had its most ridiculous moments. Ewoks.
Oh yeah, Ewoks.
We
Taking
accept
down the
it
Empire. Yeah.
because it was the first time we saw it. But in reality, coming back, it's not the best of the Star Wars films.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Not in
It's-
my opinion.
it- It's really not. But it in and of itself as a whole, it bookends it really, really well. This, I think, did the same thing. It's a jumping off point where you didn't have characters that were Mary Sues, which I know everybody hates using that terminology, but or a Mark Sue is what I call them too, where a character's just ridiculously has these abilities for no reason. And people can say, oh, well, Rey picks up a lightsaber without any training. Yes, but they're alluding that there's something different about her. And in a more sinister way in this
Yeah.
film than what ended up coming to fruition.
I want to touch on a couple of things that you said there. I'm going to start with this. I do want to talk about maybe it's absurdity. Maybe absurdity is not the right word. Maybe that's unfair. The the influence and influence is the right word. The influence of the like the canonical. Yeah, all the stuff that's not the movies.
Right.
That universe, the expanded universe. I want to touch on that because I hate it. But we're going to get to that because I've got a point to bring up with that. At the end of Force Awakens, the fight scene.
Yeah.
Right? Well, they're in the forest. It's snowing, right? I didn't really appreciate it until I watched the second movie. The second of them.
Yeah.
Which was the first time I saw the second one was today, guys, just so we know. I skipped that one. And what I noticed today was that, like, yeah, Kylo Ren is probably more interesting than I originally gave him credit for. I still don't think he's a great character. I think, what's his name? Adam Driver?
Adam Driver.
Yeah, Adam Driver is really great as his character, making me feel uncomfortable and unsettled with, I don't know, it's not even his confidence. It's just like this. Anyways, but that fight scene at the end, what I love about it is that Kylo Ren fights because he's afraid and he is unsure and he's trying to convince himself otherwise.
Yep.
Rey knows absolutely what she is about, what she wants to do, but she has no idea why. And so they're like both fighting out of uncertainty against one another for two completely different reasons. I love the parallel between them, and I think that fight scene does set up the interaction that they have in the other two movies.
That lightsaber fight is probably the best lightsaber fight in a Star Wars franchise.
It's great.
And here's why though. Hear me out on this one. But we're going off topic, but just hear me out on this one.
You can't talk about a Star Wars movie without talking about all Star Wars
yeah,
movies.
I know.
It's impossible.
But you got to think about it this way. What's so good about that is the raw visceralness between the fight.
Yeah.
Everything has a weight. And people say, oh, well, she just picked up a lightsaber and she's fighting. Technically, kind of Kylo is too. And here's the gist. We're talking about one person who's learned from another person at a time where the art is lost. Like the actual way it was in the prequel trilogy where it was more of a dance and it was more fluid is gone. And the good thing about the original trilogy was the raw visceralness of those lightsaber fights, how they were paced. They were slow. You saw that every move had to be kind of calculated. But when the moves hit, there were raw things. Coolest fucking lightsaber move ever is in Empire Strikes Back when Luke is looking for Vader in the chamber, and Vader just comes swinging like a madman, and he's just popping at him, and Luke is just running back, like just taking these heavy hits. There's nothing graceful about it, and that's what's brilliant about that one. Is like it took that and said anybody can fight. It's more about what you actually do within that fight
So with the criticism that like, oh well, Rey picks up the lightsaber and she just knows how to do that.
Han Solo picked up a lightsaber.
Yeah, that's fine too. But like Rey also is I won't say a trained combatant, but
She has some training.
She's an experienced combatant. She's got her badass staff, that she knows how to use. So it's not like she's
like out of the
ignorant
woods,
to martial skill.
It's a great lightsaber fight. It's one of the best. I don't agree that it's the best of the entire Star Wars anthology. Well, not anthology, Star Wars film series, but it's amazing, and I love the scene.
It's right up there with the Phantom Menace one. Like
One in the Phantom Menace.
the Duel of the Fates.
Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
That's a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
one.
yeah.
But no, I mean, in my opinion, Empire Strikes Back is the best one.
Oh,
best
yeah.
one. But I love that scene because before when spoiler alert, Kylo Ren. you got to say it nowadays. Spoiler alert.
Why? Why do we have to say that?
You gotta
It's
say it.
like,
I don't know.
All right, fine. It's been
When
years.
Kylo kills Han Solo and Chewbacca shoots him, with the bow laser, whatever it's called.
Bowcaster, yeah.
And hits him in the side, and then like he's still
just, like,
up, and he's hitting himself,
himself,
and letting the blood come out. Like that's fucking badass.
that's what I'm saying. Like that's like a visceral. Like
Yeah.
it's just two people fighting. Like a street. It's almost like a street fight. Like him playing with Finn is like a street fight where it's just really one sided.
Well, that's how Adam Driver did prep for the role by playing Street Fighter. Sonic boom.
So now this moves into our second
Yeah.
of the trilogy
Yes.
because all right, Derek thought the movie was very Disney. Me and Ryan both agree that it is the strongest of the franchise. I agree with you there. So now we get into the bane of my existence as a
Oh
fan,
god.
but
we go.
possibly these two jackasses' fucking favorite.
You can make two parts to this podcast just based off of what Albert's about to talk about.
Yep. Which is The Last Jedi, the film where a man who claimed he understood Star Wars doesn't fucking understand Star Wars.
You're gonna have to walk me through that
hold on.
phrase again.
All right,
I don't
all right,
understand what you just said.
Before we get into that, let's give it the brief synopsis.
The brief synopsis. So
'Cause
The Last
we'll go on
Jedi
forever.
picks up. Immediately, like what, a couple of hours after The Force Awakens?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's like 8 hours after.
I don't even think because what was it? The Force Awakens ends with Rey holding out the lightsaber, and it picks up right there, and he's just like, "Fuck!"
Like literally right there.
chucks
So there's really right. It picks up right after Force Awakens.
Yep.
There's the movie's literally it has two different plots, right?
Yep.
You got the one where you have Rey. She finds Luke Skywalker, wants to train with him, wants to bring him into the fold of the Resistance, and him just not wanting any part of it, not wanting to train anybody, not wanting to have anything to do with being a Jedi, join the Resistance, fighting and whatever, Then you have on the other end the Resistance fighting the First Order, and they're attacking. Oh, what was it? It was a dreadnought. It was just a big ship.
Oh yeah.
Big ship, and it's really about that battle at first, and then all of a sudden they're running from them.
They're running for their lives,
Running for their
essentially,
lives,
and it's a slow chase in
chase.
space. It's a slow chase in space, essentially.
And it all they all intersect at the end. And
Yep.
yeah.
That dreadnought scene. I love that because Poe is a great character.
He is,
but he's very secondary, and he's definitely the rebel. He's not a Jedi or anything like that.
Right.
So it's definitely along that plot line. But I love that because Poe's the Maverick, right?
Yeah.
And so he's got this fucking ridiculous scheme that he wants to run, and it doesn't really pay off because everyone's like, no, we got to run, because this is a fleet killer ship.
Yep.
Well, they lost their fleet anyways, but they did destroy the dreadnought. So it's like it's a hollow victory. And that right there, like that first fight, right? That first battle in space, that's Poe as Poe. And then you get to see him over the course of the movie start to reel back like, I can't just blow things up. I can't, I can't constantly just try to solve things with heroism. Like I have to think rationally. And then we get to see that in the end of the movie.
I do want to say that I love that opening scene. I love the opening battle scene.
Yeah.
I think I don't know why. I can't explain it. Maybe it is a thing. Maybe it's not. About movie sequels that open up like that. I think it's a great thing.
The hard opening like that?
Yeah, like it just shoves you right into it. Not all the main characters are there.
Yeah.
But like it's just a direct follow-up. You know, what's going on is a direct...
It did exactly what Revenge of the Sith did. It
Right.
threw you right into a battle.
Right. And directly from what's been going on from the first film into here, you know, without really the main characters, except for like Poe and Leia. But
Right. So, just so we can get through the plot aspect of it.
Yeah.
So from there, you have a slow chase, and you have Rey trying to get Luke into the fold, and then you have the subplot of Kylo now on kind of like a revenge kick because he lost so badly to prove himself to Snoke. And then as the movie progresses, the rebels are getting on their last leg. The fleet's about to destroy them. Kylo assists in destroying the fleet and then also assists in capturing Rey. There is a big plot twist, spoiler alert, where Kylo kills Snoke in probably one of the coolest but then stupidest fucking things ever to exist.
I agree.
And
It was
then
a great
Yeah.
moment for that
It is.
character, but what a
stupid
fucking
shit.
waste,
A
man!
waste,
Like
yeah.
What waste?
super
Yeah.
powerful Sith. Well, is he even a Sith? Is Snoke a Sith?
Well,
You don't know.
He is.
you don't know at
He
that
is.
point, but that he is.
He's a bad
finally,
guy.
yeah.
So, but
Super badass dude, and like doesn't even get a chance to get up from his chair. We've already seen his power demonstrated. He is a badass. He is insanely powerful, and because he thought really hard about not doing this one thing, and instead of doing this other thing, he was able to kill him. It's just such a letdown.
It's such a bad thing.
Yeah,
but-
that was like my biggest complaint about that one.
And then the fleet corner. Then there is a duality where Kylo wants to kind of destroy the old ways, and Rey is now embracing the Jedi aspect and wanting to hold on to what's good and pure. And then it all culminates in this gigantic battle on this salt planet. Crate.
It is called
Yep,
Crate,
yeah, Crate. Where the First Order's got the remaining few hundred rebels cornered in a hangar bay, and as they're about to defeat it, Luke Skywalker comes in the laziest way Luke
was-
Skywalker could.
All right.
And
Yeah.
and then gives them time to get out. Rey shows that she is really strong with the Force. They escape from Kylo, and that's pretty much how it ends. It leaves you on a like a what's next kind of thing. Here's the thing with this fucking film.
I love it.
Here's the fucking thing. Yes, I will agree with you. There are cool things in this film. There are. You can't take that away. Like, there are some cool fucking things that happen in this film. My problem with this film is not only does it break the continuity of everything established before it, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't obey or respect any of the laws of the universe that's already created. It, in turn, is a giant film, and the term comes up all the fucking time, but it's the only fucking term to describe this hunk of shit,
Lot of
in
fucks
my
in there.
opinion. I can't stand this movie. I really can't. I really, really can't. And the reason being is because subvert expectations is a thing that's thrown around a lot. But this film went out of its way not only to subvert expectations, but follow the theme of one of its characters into the advancement of the universe, which was let the old die and let's start with the new, and shoehorn it and just shit on everything that came before it. For instance, the biggest one is Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker in and of himself. And it's not so much that he's hiding to protect people or because he's given up. If he was hiding because he thought that he's like, oh, there's always a counterbalance to the Force. This thing is always going to keep going. I secluded myself in hopes that counterbalance wouldn't happen. That's an understandable thing from Luke. And he says that at some point, which is like, oh, okay, we're getting to some meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
When he's with Rey in the well, and he said, my generation of family, tried to fight and let a man named Palpatine take over. Like, okay, that's a good understanding. But everything that preceded it and everything that comes after it are so out of scope for the character. The fight scene in space, the 8-hour chase, where magically all of a sudden now in the entire universe, there's fuel. There's never been fuel in any other movie.
Well, all right. I'm gonna preface my retort by saying this. So I like The Last Jedi. I think it's a great movie. Not as much. I didn't like it as much as Force Awakens. There are a lot of things that I like about the movie. I think it looks great.
Oh yeah, they all
It
look great.
looks
yeah.
great.
It looks good.
And there are some things that I like what Rian Johnson did. There are also things that I did not like. But the things that I did not like, I don't hate them. I kind of admire them. I admire those choices.
I can't see that.
Not that, but I don't necessarily agree with it.
I get where you're coming
But
from.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
See,
know.
like, I can't. You can't admire those choices though, because they're so lazy.
But in terms of Luke Skywalker not being who everyone thought he should have been, where did it say? Where was it? Or where? I mean, in any of the movies, that the Jedi were just superheroes.
No, but that's the thing though. That's where everybody gets it wrong. And I know where you're going with it. And that's where everyone gets it wrong. What makes Luke Skywalker different from all the other Jedi before him is he understood why they fell in the first place.
But why did we follow Luke Skywalker in the first place in the original trilogy? Because he was
The hero.
the hero,
Yeah.
but he wasn't infallible. He wasn't. I mean, he makes mistakes.
Well,
And he had that
was the whole-
mistake in Empire Strikes Back, and he had that same exact mistake in Return of the Jedi.
But think about it. Let's give this to you, right? If they remade The Last Jedi, where The Last Jedi was Luke Skywalker wasn't like that as we saw. He was the superhero. I'm here to save the fucking day. How boring would that have been?
But that's not what people are upset about.
Yeah,
though.
I think, all right, I get where you're coming from, but I think the problem with the Luke Skywalker showing up to save the day thing is that he's a hologram, and it was unnecessary because, he might
it's
as well
against
have showed up.
It's against the character himself.
Like,
I didn't agree with that.
Right.
Yeah,
and but that's the
Didn't
thing
agree
though.
with
His whole setup for being where he is and why he did it is completely out. It'd be different if, let's say, the original trilogy with Luke Skywalker was over the course of, let's say, 5 years, right? It's over the course of 5 years. Okay, 5 years isn't a whole lot for this person to find out who they are. And 30 years later, you can see some changes. You can understand that.
Yeah, but you know what was crazy is that the guy they got to play Luke Skywalker still looks a lot like Mark Hamill.
But here's where this film becomes a. I kind of feel like Rian Johnson's a narcissistic schmuck that's just so into himself and what he wanted to do. It's almost like a Star Wars movie that was made by a Star Wars fan that didn't like the way Star Wars played out with certain characters because they can never relate to any of those characters, so they shoehorned themselves into the film versus taking the material and what was there and staying true to who these people are. Like J.J. Abrams with Han Solo. It is perfectly reasonable that Han Solo would leave Leia again. As much as they loved each other, and as much as you thought, they were going to be a family in the future, it's perfectly like within that character, his characteristic, for him to be that way.
Which is what people wanted in terms of Han Solo and Leia being
Right.
like a family, because that's what the books
Right.
had said, and they wanted their sequels,
Okay.
But that's where
to be just like the book.
that's the difference
That's
between
twice now. That's twice now that we've brought this up, and I'm going to point this out.
It annoys me too. It annoys me too.
Maybe I'm wrong in this because, like, okay, I'll make it known. I like the Star Wars franchise. It's fun to watch. I don't read too much into it. I'm definitely not an uber fan. I think they're fun movies. I had to look up today who Snoke was because I never really felt like we were given a great motivation.
weren't.
And so it's kind of like, so Snoke in the first movie, because he's a shadowy figure, it made sense to me because it's like, oh, okay, there's this puppet master back there, right?
Right.
That's cool. And then in the second film, we're going to meet Snoke. We're going to find out about Snoke. And then you just see him and there's no explanation. So I was like, all right, I know there's an expanded universe. I know there's this whole thing going on. I went to look it up and I was a little bit lazy. I clicked on the first link and I didn't go any farther research. But my point is that we're reviewing these movies, right? Mm-hmm. We're not reviewing the expanded universe. So I will say that this sequel trilogy failed in developing their villains.
Absolutely.
Developing Snoke.
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because you can't find, there's nothing in Snoke about, in the movies about Snoke. And there's very little from the one link I clicked on.
Exactly. And here's the thing with this film, though. Like, and I have so much with this film, but so like you said, like they didn't do anything to set up their villains, right? And like you just brought up,
Except for, like, no, but Kylo was set up.
yeah. The expanded universe, you can see where J.J. Abrams pulled some things from it and said, okay, I'm not doing Han Solo and Leia having a fucking family. That's ridiculous. But I am going to stay true to the character. What would the character do? Because yes, he was changed by that lifelong event, but he was already who he was when those movies started.
Yeah.
So it's his decision on what Han and Luke and Han and Chewie were doing was within the character's own characteristics, like their own development, like where they were at the time that they left. It was perfectly reasonable that this was where he would be. It was perfectly reasonable that Leia would still be a rebellious general. Perfectly reasonable. Even if she wasn't, if she was just a retired like figurehead, like it would have been understandable. Yes, Luke Skywalker being a recluse is not the issue. The issue is why Luke Skywalker is a recluse and what Luke Skywalker does when he finds out that the people he loves are in danger. Because Luke Skywalker isn't like 25 when Return of the Jedi ends. He's 30. They've been doing this for a decade. That whole the original film trilogy is a decade. He is developed in the way he is at this point. So he can have a lot of tragedies and he can make decisions, but his decisions are always for the betterment of his family. Now, somebody can argue that that's what he did, right? But he didn't. What he did was he shut himself for his own personal gain. And then when confronted with the people needing help, he refuses it, which, okay, I can buy that. He refuses it because if he gets involved, then it's a chance that the dark side is already going to come back. The dark side's already back. So there's no point in that argument. And then on top of that, for him to take something like that lightsaber scene literally sealed the deal because it was for a laugh. When him chucking it, regardless of what he's gone through, Luke Skywalker himself would have looked at that lightsaber and had a hard emotional challenge with it because that's something that he fought with for a decade.
Okay, so yes. And his reaction to that hard emotional challenge was to chuck it because of his experiences. I think that the Luke Skywalker thing, and I agree with you, like maybe there's like, well, I think that there's a conversation that needs to be had is my point. Yeah. And I can see where you're coming from on this. I think as far as the Luke Skywalker character goes in these first two movies, or really the second movie. So yeah, he's isolated himself, and he's a curmudgeon. He's the Grinch who stole the Force, basically.
Yeah.
But he admits it. It's his own hubris. Right. Like he did learn. He realized in the originals that the Force, the Jedi, the Sith, these things, is there a balance to them? I don't really know. But like it's important and it needs to be studied. And like he had some wisdom from it. But he admits that he let his own ignorance get ahead of his wisdom. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll train Ben, and why the hell now? I'll just open a temple. I'll start training Jedi again, And then he realized, like, oh, shit, you know what, man? Like, I am not the Jedi Master that I thought I was.
Well,
that's my opinion. And that's why, like, he went into that isolation because, like, he's ashamed. He feels guilty. And he doesn't know how to deal with it.
And I could buy that if it wasn't for what made him ashamed in the first place.
What he should really be shamed about is milking that creature on the beach.
Oh, that was weird. Yeah.
Listen, I thought about that today, though. But that whole scene, like, all right, that was weird. That one part. Yeah. But the rest of that montage, I get it. It's just to show, like, well, I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm not doing shit these days.
Look, he's milking
let's just some fucking green.
He has like a 25-foot long fishing pole that he uses to spearfish. It was really unnecessary at first.
And apparently pole vault because
Yeah,
he's in the
it's
Olympics.
just- Why did he pole vault? He like went from one side of the cliff
He
to
could've
the
just
other.
walked.
He could have just stood on the one side of the cliff and spearfished. He didn't need to go to the other side.
No, he
It's the
didn't.
same. The fish is still in the middle of the fucking water. But like, I get the whole point of the montage because it's like they're
looks
trying to
cool,
show like, yeah, Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker going back to his farming
mundane.
roots, which is ridiculous
Well,
because
I
Luke
wouldn't even
Skywalker
go that
didn't.
far. That's a stretch in
That's
itself.
kinda what
but
they were getting at.
A little bit, but it's unnecessary to even go there. I mean, he was just like, it's to prove that Luke Skywalker is keeping himself alive just barely because he's just a dickhead.
Here's the thing though, and then you have his whole reason for being for doing what he did in the first place was because of what happened with Ben and that he failed. And here's where it really gets twisted. You can say Luke Skywalker's traumatized from the events of Return of the Jedi all these years later. And him seeing Ben seeing the images in Ben's head because Snoke had was reaching into his mind to try to twist him as a PSTD moment, right?
PTSD.
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 What did he say?
Yes,
I didn't catch it.
PSTD.
PSTD.
Yeah,
PSTD.
dyslexia, folks. But you could say that. But by God, is it fucking stupid? And here's why. Here's why.
All right.
Here's why. The guy's father was the most evil mofo on the fucking galaxy. And he couldn't kill him and tried to see the good and worked so hard to turn him. So you mean to tell me his nephew, who is still good at this point, still good, he's going to have a momentary lapse of judgment
Yes.
and try to kill him?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
No!
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Look at Return of the Jedi. So in Return of the Jedi, Luke lets himself get captured by Vader because he sees the good in his father and wants to turn him. They have a lightsaber duel. He refuses to fight him, but Vader keeps baiting him. Vader makes him mad. Luke has a lapse in judgment and beats Vader. Like he tried to kill. He could have killed him.
Right.
He's wailing on him, chopped his fucking hand off, and then realized what he did and said, "Shit, all right, this is not where I'm going. My plight is still, this is my father. I'm trying to change him." So it's basically the same thing.
It's not, though,
Yes, it
because
is.
the scenario is different.
It is. No,
Well,
because
all right.
The circumstances
saw,
are different.
He saw him. He saw his mind. He saw where he was going. Remember, this was supposed to be done. The dark side was supposed to be gone. Luke brought balance to the Force, or Anakin, however you feel, however it worked. It was over. He recognized something in his nephew that was a little fishy with his attitude. While he was sleeping, saw what he would become. Going through what he went through, in his mind, he had to stop it, and he even admitted he had that lapse in
doubt.
judgment,
Yeah.
and he immediately felt shame. Immediately.
Yeah, but
And then was like, shit. And then, of course, Ben saw him, and that's what fucked it up.
But then
So-
essentially what you're saying is that character. Okay, so first off, I'm gonna shut that one down real quick. Because check this out.
Shots fired.
Empire Strikes Back, Luke has a vision of himself as Darth Vader. So having a vision and seeing something in someone's mind is not something new to Luke at all. And knowing that those visions don't dictate who you become is not something new to Luke. Number two, the circumstance in which Luke snapped in Return of the Jedi is completely different than his nephew sleeping and him just walking up peacefully and number one deciding to fucking peeping Tom his mind.
But it's because you're looking at it like that you don't see
But
it.
that's the way it. But that's the
But
thing.
that's not the way
That's
it
the
is.
way the two
It's not.
circumstances
But
happen.
I don't know, man. I think I agree with Ryan on this one, just because I think that, and maybe I'm getting a little too meta with this. I'm taking it too far out of context, but like I think the Luke Skywalker character, that's his the weight that he bears is that he still, after all these years, has a little bit of fear of the dark side,
And that could be.
and about his transition towards it,
And-
and his encouragement of the dark side. So, like to train Ben. Oh my God, Ben's a part of the dark side. What do I do? Oh my God, my father's the dark side, and I feel that affecting me. Oh my
Yes.
God, like I
But
see
he
myself.
has experience with what.
but
can
also-
And he
be.
hasn't learned. He's
There-
a PTSD guy.
Right, but there's
you
also
know?
the fact that Luke Skywalker, and it's it's something that people don't talk about, is not a normal Jedi.
He's not. No,
He's not.
No.
He was not. When normal Jedi were trained from from birth. Or at least children, right?
Right.
When they were children. And
I know when I was born, they asked me if I wanted one.
Yeah. But no one asked me and I was bummed about it.
Well, you're going to get your Harry Potter letter. It's fine.
My Harry Potter letter. Yeah. Fuck Harry Potter. Anyways, so he's not normal Jedi. He came into it late.
That's true.
It's only, and the fact that people want to say that Luke Skywalker should be this. Well, where does it say he should be that?
It's not that
it doesn't say it anywhere.
But that's the thing, though. It's not that people are saying he should be this. It's everything that the character's development lean towards. All the character's actions, everything. And you say that the Darth Vader thing and him reading Ben's mind are not different scenarios. But they are. Because you got to think about what Vader did to egg him on. And why Luke retaliated versus why Luke did what he did with his nephew.
But it still created a lapse in judgment.
It did create a lot of judgment, but you have to think about it. Number one, he's in an immense pressure fight. Number two...
Say that number one again, please. I did not understand.
He's in an immense pressure fight.
In an immense
pressured fight. Pressured fight. He's in a fight right now at the time of
Okay, I'm with you now.
where
I'm
he
sorry,
snaps.
I'm sorry.
And
Yeah.
he doesn't even really snap. The reason why he snaps is to protect a loved one. That's the difference. Luke doesn't love his father. He just believes that there's good in him. But he's fully prepared to end his life if need be. But he's going to go out of his way to show that there is still good in Anakin Skywalker. Because Anakin Skywalker started good and was deceived by the dark side and turned.
Only after he chopped his hand off, though.
Right. But he didn't know he was his father until then.
No. I'm talking about Return of the Jedi.
Right.
When Luke Skywalker was going ballistic
Right.
on him and almost fucking killed him, would have killed him unless he stopped him, until he stopped himself.
Until he stopped
and
himself.
said,
Right.
shit.
But what I'm saying is the circumstance of what he did was not to, wasn't a, oh my God, like Ben's having dark side images, but he's not doing anything. Vader threatened Leia, and Luke was already in a mode of this man's been in the dark side already. He is the dark side at this point in time. He's not fighting his nephew, who's good at this point in time. And just having, see, that's what I'm saying.
But did they say he was good then? Because
he was training.
No, but they would say his mind was already starting to get spoiled by Snoke.
Right.
At that point.
But at that point, he's spoiled by Snoke, but he hadn't turned. Vader was already turned. Luke was just trying to get him to flip because he felt that there was still good in him. But when Vader threatened Leia, Luke had to make a decision. Protect the people I love that are good.
He didn't make a decision,
help.
though.
He did.
Flipped. He got
flipped.
mad.
Right.
Vader went into got into his head and flipped the switch, and he got mad.
But that's why he got mad. That's
Which
what I'm
is
trying to say.
why he almost killed Ben Solo, because he saw it and it got into his head. Vader got into his head again in a way, flipped the switch, ignited the lightsaber, and then realized, didn't take it as far as he went with Vader because he had learned, shit, this is wrong. This is a boy. This is my family. It can change. But then
it wouldn't have gotten
Ben
to that
saw
point,
him,
though.
and it didn't get to that point because it was ruined.
It would have never gotten the way the character is, because he even establishes these characteristics later on throughout the film, which is why it's such a juxtaposition, and it's bad. It's just bad. It'd be different if you said, I looked into his mind, and then for a moment, Snoke peered into mine, and I lost clarity. That's different. What it's establishing is that he himself said, I cannot allow another Darth Vader to appear. When he himself brought Anakin Skywalker out of the dark side, knowing full well he could do it. And this person hasn't fallen yet.
Yeah, that's a good point, man.
They haven't fallen yet.
That's a good point, yeah.
They
It's
haven't.
a good point, but
so he wouldn't light a lightsaber to go to kill him. He would just step back and confront him.
Bro, your
and say,
eyes
what's
are
going on?
so fucking
because
wide
it's
right now.
so
Yeah.
fucking frustrating. 'Cause I've had this.
He's so passionate
Dude,
about
yeah.
how much he hates this movie.
Because that's the thing. Because everybody I know brings up that same exact thing, and I keep saying, yeah, but it's like the rest of it doesn't exist. It's just Luke seeing that and not wanting it. Yes, is understandable. But Luke seeing that, not wanting it, lighting a lightsaber, getting ready to kill an innocent boy who hasn't fallen yet is completely wrong. Him confronting him and keeping him still and having the confrontation and the confrontation escalating is right. But Luke Skywalker, and everything that is told about him and everything that is established, would not take an innocent life regardless of what happens.
But who's to say that they haven't had those conversations already?
All right, I
Because
want
they had said that he had seen a lot of hatred in him. He had seen it already. You don't think he just let that go like for a while? Like, oh,
No.
okay, no. They've had those discussions already, and then that's why he went into his hut, whatever you want to call it, room, to talk to him. He was sleeping, saw it, had a lapse in judgment because Luke Skywalker is not perfect.
He's not.
And I can't stand how a lot of the fandom just wants to believe that he is, and he's not.
It's not that about him being perfect. It's more about him. It's more about what we know of Luke Skywalker and where a human being like that would develop to naturally. He hasn't seen anything in 30 years except for that.
So, all right,
That's the thing. That's the only instance.
we're gonna go back and forth about this forever.
Yeah, we'll
I
have
want
to
to bring
move
up
on
two
to the
things
next one, yeah.
specifically about what was that?
So we'll have to move on to the next one. But go ahead. Yeah.
I want to bring up two things. One question, one opinion regarding the Luke Skywalker, Kylo Ren interaction on that specific part of the story. All right, I think where they failed with the Luke Skywalker character in the second movie is Luke Skywalker tells Rey, "Oh yeah, Ben tried to crush me with his house," and then Kylo tells Rey, "Hey, I did that because he was trying to kill me." And when she confronts him about that, he's like, "Oh yeah, no, it looks like I was trying to kill him, but really, I feel like Luke Skywalker would have
Wouldn't
been
do
like, he would have said it right up front."
Exactly.
Yeah, that part I agree. Like that's
agree
the
with that
fucked
part.
up part. That's not Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker would have told Rey the story straight up front.
Exactly.
And then she would have heard it from Kylo, and she'd been like, "No, you don't understand. Like, yeah, that's what it looked like, but like it's a little more complicated than that." Wouldn't have changed anything. But the other question I have on this, because they talk about how Ben, damn, I keep hitting the mic. How Ben took some of the what do you call them, students? Do you call them disciples?
The students.
Yeah, the students of Luke with him, and then killed the others. So, are those students? Is the implication there that those students became the Knights of Ren?
Yes.
Yes.
That is the
That's the
implication?
implication.
Okay.
Which is
Just to clarify, I
is-
think that's kind of cool.
Which is another Ryan Johnson fucking gem
That he
because
did. Yeah.
because
No, I don't like that.
J.J.
He got rid
Abrams
of that, yeah.
alluded that that Kylo and the Knights of Ren attacked Luke's temple and destroyed it.
Yeah.
And then they did the opposite. Kylo broke it down and then escaped, and that was it with those people. Like it was kind of stupid. And then just to end it on this one note, let's just say we can look past all the other things. He had a momentary lapse of judgment, all that shit. When his friends were in trouble, he would have went there directly. And everybody says, "Oh, but the X-Wing was underwater and broken." Number one, it can survive in space, so it's air fucking tight. So it doesn't matter if it's underwater. Number two, they already proved that it was all fully functional in the next film. So he would have gotten in his X-Wing and gotten there.
But you're talking about two different Luke Skywalkers. You're talking about a 20-year-old Luke Skywalker, which all 20-year-olds are fucking gung-ho about everything, versus a 50 to 60-year-old man, just kind of like, not like, fuck it, but
Who
like,
is, according to Ryan Johnson and the way they canonize it and the ability that they used as the excuse, keep in mind, Luke Skywalker is, regardless of his training, the most powerful Force user to exist, with the exception of Yoda.
to everyone else, but Luke Skywalker doesn't believe it.
Right.
But
then he believes it when
Right,
Yoda tells
right,
him,
right.
and then that's what I'm saying.
But
he has the flip.
But to cap off my whole view of Luke Skywalker, what I don't agree with, and then we'll move on to the next movie because we've taken a long time.
Just to point out, one of the things that we should be talking about in this franchise is the character Rey, and we've spent a lot of time.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to that in a
We're
third.
gonna get to that.
That character
And
deserves
Finn,
our
and
treatment.
yeah, because anyways, but what I think where they fucked up Luke Skywalker is I was cool with how everything went down in Last Jedi with him, even the Force Ghost thing, until they decided to kill him off.
Yep.
Until he died, because I could have bought that he he's still wrestling with himself and his self-esteem. That okay, I still want to help my friend. I still don't want to help my sister. I want to help the resistance. Without me being there, I can just fucking do the ultimate thing and force ghost myself there to buy them time.
Right.
And then save his big heroic moment in person for the next movie.
Right.
I would have been.
Would have bought that.
And I think a lot of people
would have bought that.
would've.
I would have been okay with it if that was the case. I agree.
And then save it like, all right, he did get, all right, in the third movie, he finally comes to terms with himself and realizes that he is the only one that can stop Kylo or the First Order or whoever it's going to be. But then then Rian Johnson decided to, no, he's just going to die and become one with the Force. Like,
that was a lazy thing.
It
It was
lazy.
unnecessary. It was just like
Because it was to remove the characters and shoehorn the new ones.
I think that killing Luke Skywalker in that scene, like on the salt beach with whatever the hell you want to call it with Kylo, that was a good move. I think like that was nice. What bothered me about it is that that's not what we got. Instead, what we got was this unnecessary Luke Skywalker death. If he was gonna die, regardless,
he should just
put
went
him on
there.
the beach and get him lightsaber to the fucking chest.
Let's
man.
see what
give him the
myth is.
the Ben Kenobi treatment. You
Yep.
know, Obi-Wan Kenobi, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I feel like I'm trying to say something from Ninja Gaiden right now. Anyways, yeah, but like the fact that like I'm gonna force ghost over there. Did you think you were gonna survive? Was that your plan? Were you gonna go for more, or were you just like, no, this is my last stand? Well, and yeah, maybe the X-wing. I don't know. I mean, Albert, you brought up a good point with that. That shit's true too. I mean, like he already lifted the X-wing out of the water on Dagobah.
Yeah.
So well, it was a lot shallower too. But anyways, yeah, I just thought I was lazy. It's just like either
get him there.
Either let him survive to the next movie or put him actually on that fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But put him there, display what he is. Because
yeah, there was just a sequel and unnecessary.
Keep in mind, they played it up that he was the Jedi. But
I will say that with that Force Ghost or Force representation that he did, I knew something was up because they showed the Luke Skywalker whenever he was about to attack Ben.
Yeah.
And not the Luke Skywalker that he was.
That he
then.
was
like
at that point.
He gave the persona up.
And
also he
haircut,
was wearing his black suit too,
Yeah.
and
he had his
and when
lightsaber.
when he moved his foot, there was no salt track.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. I didn't catch that.
And then he did that Matrix flip, the worst fucking lightsaber fight ever.
All right, I don't want to get into a lot of this because
So
the
then-
fucking whole sequel trilogy is full of dumb shit like that, and I just hand wave it.
So now this leads into
Let's move on.
the Rise of Skywalker.
Which takes place 2-3 years maybe, or is it a year?
It's like a year or two. They don't say really
Yeah.
the time frame, but it takes place quite a bit after. And they do a lot of opening montage to fill you in on what's happened in between. Because, like I said earlier, I had called it in The Force Awakens. I strongly believe J.J. Abrams' original plan for the trilogy, which was what Colin Trevorrow and Kasdan were all going to do and were all on board, was they were going to do a flip. Ben becomes the good, Rey becomes the bad, and we'd have the first on-film female villain, and it would have been probably the greatest twist ever. But you could tell that that's what they were going with, and they shoehorned it in where they had to do a lot of repair. It seems like I like this movie, but it feels like they did a lot of repair because of how off script The Last Jedi went. Regardless of how you feel about it, it did go way off from where the original one was trying to set things up to, into its own little tangent, and kind of screwed up a lot of points that would progress the series further with Snoke, things like that. And so, anyway, it takes place a couple of years after. If you don't know by now, Kylo's looking for these holocrons to find the Sith base. And he finds them, and he finds out that it's Palpatine. He wasn't really dead because they did a little bit of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
He's the puppet
thing.
master.
I'm gonna whisper this because I'm so upset.
He's behind the strings.
That's that whole thing with Palpatine being the real villain and all of this. That is the new RoboCop. Oh, it's really your boss that's the bad guy. That's that kind of twist. It's
Yeah,
not a twist.
exactly.
That's a punch. All right?
And they say that Snoke was a clone of Palpatine, some form of a clone.
Oh, is that
'Cause
the
it looked-
story?
Like,
Because
like
they
a
didn't
pup,
tell us
like
that.
yeah, you
Yeah.
can see
No, they
like,
did, they did.
You see
Yeah, they
clone
did.
parts
Yeah.
of him in like
Yeah.
jars and stuff.
In a way,
Oh,
it wasn't
okay.
like but you put the two and
The
two
pieces
together.
Oh, I did not.
He's a puppet. It was
I
actually
did not catch that.
Snoke wasn't Snoke. Snoke
Yeah.
was just a vessel that Palpatine could use.
Yeah.
To create the First Order.
Create the
Wait a
Force
minute.
Order.
Wait a minute. Snoke. S-N-O-K-E, right? Hold on. S-N-O-K-E. If you wait, S-N-O-K-E. Let's flip that around. What do we have? E-K-O-N-S, right? What does that spell? Econs, right? Now, take the N, flip it around itself. Almost looks like a W. What does that spell? E-cows. Now, flip the W in the K. What do you have? Ewoks. That's the fucking villain.
Jesus Christ.
It almost looks like a W. You said.
When you take an N and you
Flip it
mirror
over,
with another N, it
becomes a U.
Maybe a W somewhere in there. you know?
But and essentially what happens is it becomes this entire thing where the First Order and the rebels are coming to this gigantic battle at the end of the on Palpatine's base, and Rey flips Ben because Ben has a moment. She finds out she can heal people and bring them back to life, even though they're dying. Stupidest thing ever. And then, so Ben turns good. Him and Rey go to challenge Palpatine. Palpatine wipes the floor with Ben. And then Rey single-handedly Mary Sue's her way through and destroys Palpatine. And with the assistance of the Force ghosts of hundreds of Jedi that she's never met, which is implied. And then, Ben kisses her in a Bella Jacob moment. And movie goes, and she buries the old. She buries Luke and Leia's lightsabers because you find out Luke tried to train Leia, which was a nice little nod to the expanded universe. And that's pretty much it. She kills Palpatine. She takes the name Skywalker, and that's the rise of Skywalker.
That's the rise of Skywalker.
Which is really like
so
kind of
fucking
the settling
stupid.
of Skywalker, because I think that was the whole point that Luke was trying to impress, was that, hey, being a legend is not that great. Like, just humble, simple things.
So,
But maybe I've been thinking about Lord of the Rings too much.
So this one is my least favorite out of the three, and even though I like it, I think it's a good movie. I like all the movies, but this one is my least favorite because it just felt way too forced. I mean,
well, yeah, they're using the Force.
right, but it was way too much of it. No, like the plot, because
Yo, check your midichlorians, bro.
because I know you've said it, and a lot of people have said that J.J. Abrams had this original idea. I don't think J.J. Abrams had an original. I don't think it had an idea at all. I think he was hired for one film.
No, he said he did.
He did say that?
He said he's did now.
Okay, I
Yeah,
know that.
he didn't say it at the time because there was still so much fallout from The Last Jedi that they were just keeping everything on the wraps. But he said they had an original treatment. Mark Hamill has come out and said, yeah, we had 2 original scripts and they were gone after Rian Johnson.
Okay, but anyways, first film had J.J. Abrams at the helm. He did not come back for the second one. Rian Johnson took over, and we had Last Jedi, which we just talked about for a while. And even though the movie was successful, critically and commercially, a lot of the fans were unhappy. So I think Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, all those people decided, listen, let's try to right the ship here somewhat and bring back JJ and just kind of give the fans what they wanted, which I think was the mistake.
Well, that's generally the mistake.
Yeah, because, I mean, what would have been a way more interesting film is, all right, Last Jedi happened. You can't take it back. It's already broken. Don't try mending it back together. Create something new out of those fucking ashes, bro. Do something different. But they didn't. They tried to put it, what he built and J.J. Abrams took down, he tried to put it back together again. And that's kind of the movie we got.
I agree with you, actually, on this one. The difference, to me, all right, so first off, it is the second most, out of this trilogy to feel like a Star Wars movie. It doesn't, it has nothing like the Force Awakens, where it felt like a Star Wars movie, but this one picked up pieces. I gave it some slack because I understood where JJ was originally going. Prime example, Rey beating Kylo in the first one, and when she beats him down and she looks angry and full of hate, and the music changes, and you can tell that that's the tone. You could tell he was going for she's related to a Palpatine. I called that from the fucking first one when we all way back. I said, she's a Palpatine. This is going to be the greatest flip ever. And they didn't do it. And what I think he should have done, although he did really good with what he had left, and he kind of, they had such a short time to do it, and he made a good film. Ending was, I wouldn't have gone the Palpatine route, like you said, because of the fact that what The Last Jedi did. I think what they should have done was he should have stuck to his original plan, which is what you could tell they were doing, because there's so much of it in that last scene where Palpatine is telling her that I will, inhabit you and you will become the leader of the Sith. I strongly feel he should have just ran with it and made her the bad guy. And then had another 3 films of Ben good, her bad, and you have it flipped. And it is the rise of Skywalker, Ben Solo, a Skywalker coming up. And then you have that juxtaposition of someone who he knows is inherently good. What is he going to do? Is he going to follow in his family's footsteps, or is he going to end it?
God damn, that's a good idea.
And that's the sad thing about this film. When I watch this film, yes, it has a lot of faults. But it has a lot of faults by no fault of J.J. Abrams. He just didn't know where to fucking go with it. And I don't blame him.
I don't blame J.J. Abrams for anything.
But you could tell in everything that he explains and he does.
Not everything. But in terms of the Star Wars, I don't blame him.
Imagine J.J. Abrams' life, and Ryan's completely innocent.
Yeah,
Completely. Never did anything wrong.
I think he was just doing the job that was
he had to do.
That he was handed.
Yep, exactly.
Kathleen Kennedy, JJ, we kind of went a little too far with the last movie. You need to fix this. Yep. Okay, sure, I'll fix it, but you need to do it this way.
Yeah, and he's like, "Fuck."
Okay,
And that's the sad thing about it, because you can tell so much in the writing that he did in this film, where he was alluding to. It's kind of like J.J. Abrams going "fuck you" to Kathleen Kennedy, because that's why she's not involved in anything anymore, and that's why thank God for Jon Favreau, because Jon Favreau understands the universe. It's the truth though, and he's proven that you can have original characters in this universe and it work if you stick to the understanding of the universe. And that's the main thing that everybody forgets. If you look at the film Solo, yes, they're good. Look at The Last Jedi by itself without any other context. Good film. Never taking that away from it. But in context of what you're doing, you can't do that with a Star Wars film. It's shit. This is unfortunately a little less shit, but it's more of a, I like it more because if it's a fuck you. It's J.J. Abrams saying, I'm going to just tell everybody what my original plan was and shoving it all in here and then never getting to it because you guys left me no choice on where to go.
But that creates a lesser movie.
It does.
But
if we're comparing it to The Last Jedi.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. They're only doing those 3. There's no more trilogies.
All right, give it 5 years.
And maybe, but they made it at this point in time, at the time of the film, they made it very clear 9 is the last of this whole
of the Skywalker
saga. And so, in essence, where was he gonna go? He couldn't do. Let's say he did what he originally alluded to. She would have been a bad guy. Right? Ben would have been gone back to the light. It would have been a flip, but Ben knows it's not of her own will. It would have got 3 more movies, and but it doesn't have that. He's got this last movie to bring it all in. How are you going to bring on a film that started one way and then another film that completely threw everything the first film did and laid a whole new groundwork, changed the laws of the universe, and now you got to go back and try to bring it back to the laws of the universe? That's that's a tall glass of water.
No, it is, and it's a lot to deal with, and it's a really shitty situation. But at the end of the day, it still created a lesser film. I mean, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. We can't change it. We don't fucking run Hollywood. We don't do that. Yeah. If we did, it might have been better. Sounds like it, but.
Yeah. I'm just I agree. In theory, maybe we could have done it better. Problem is, I don't know that the 3 of us could ever actually sit down.
Yeah. But that's how I feel. If I'm comparing Rise of Skywalker with Last Jedi, I'm not comparing with Force Awakens because I think Force Awakens is just above those other 2 films. It's just better. But comparing those 2 films, Last Jedi had at least an original trajectory where, maybe it kind of fucked up where The Force Awakens went, but kind of what I'm saying is that, you're going this way. Force Awakens is going straight. Last Jedi was like, I'm going right. What should have happened was,
They
all right, take it
overcorrected, yeah.
this way instead of, no, try and go back that way.
Yeah.
Or wherever.
But
you
here's
know?
the thing, though. Like, taking it the other way, in retrospect, though, he couldn't even. Because you wouldn't have had enough film to bring it, to keep going. Because the main villain's destroyed as of The Last Jedi. Like, Snoke is gone. And you kind of knew, the way JJ set it up, Snoke wasn't a clone puppet. Snoke
Was something different,
Was
yeah.
something different. And there was a lot of rumor, and he kind of like winked at it. Darth Plagueis, with the way he's cut up and the scars, that was Palpatine's mentor. They say Palpatine killed him, but the guy was known to bringing himself back to life. Could have been hiding in the shadows, and this is where he is now. Like,
Isn't there a whole thing about Jar Jar Binks actually being Darth Plagueis?
it was
Or like a Sith Lord in general.
Jar Jar
Yeah.
Binks, meets the Darth Bar. Yeah, no. So, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like he couldn't even keep going with it because there was no villain anymore. He had no choice but to U-turn it around.
I think
Just keep Ben the bad guy, then you got another Return of the Jedi.
But
and that's what they got
I still don't
criticized
understand why they got rid of Colin Trevorrow. Because, I mean, his original script idea for the third film is out there now, and you can read it.
Yeah.
And to me, it would have been a far better film.
Yeah, but it was based off of what would have happened on the second film.
Correct.
And that's the problem.
Well, no, but that's the problem that Disney saw and said, we can't do this. We need to go back and start pleasing fans again.
Right.
But then we got a lesser film.
Yeah.
I keep saying it because it is.
And-
Like,
and I agree with
and it's
you.
really unfortunate. And it's a good film.
It's a
I'm
really
not
good
saying
film,
it's a
yeah.
shitty film. I don't think any of these films are shitty. I think Rise of Skywalker is a good movie. It's just not as good as the other two. And for that reason, because it feels like it was put together for, it was just put together.
That's what it was.
That's all, like it was just,
I think it was
Force Awakens' whole point was we're bringing Star Wars back. We haven't really seen Star Wars for 30 years. We're bringing it back. Awesome. Last Jedi, for all its faults, the whole point of it, Ryan Johnson's point was to subvert expectation and do something different and lead the franchise into a different direction. Rise of Skywalker was just all about, we gotta fucking fix it.
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing, though. You see, to me, there's too many faults in The Last Jedi to say that it's a better film than Rise of Skywalker. Whereas, yes, Rise of Skywalker had made a U-turn and fixed things. As a film, it was still good up until that ending. Up until that very, very... I'm talking about that last, 30 seconds, of that film. But it was still a good film. It stayed true to the characters' development. Poe, Finn... all the things. It stayed true to those things.
Well, Finn, they kind of just
They kind of
forgot
fucked
about.
him. They had,
Yeah,
but they had to.
didn't get great treatment.
Yeah, but they kind of had to because they fucked them up in the Last Jedi, and that's the problem. The Last Jedi, if it was just the Luke Skywalker thing, it would be fine. You know what I mean? It would be fine. But everybody's overlooking all the other super faults. It had a fucking needless casino scene that didn't push anything forward.
That
Right?
okay, so here's I got questions about this. Okay?
It's always the
can't
last
stop.
because that's the thing. That's the catalyst film.
Listen, Hitler was horrible. It's like you're saying.
All right.
It's like you're saying. Hold
What
on.
are we talking about?
Hold on. It's like you're saying Hitler was horrible, but it was because of World War I that he was so bad. So fuck World War I. No, right? That's what you're saying.
All right.
No, what I'm saying is to
God damn it, dude. Why the fuck are we ever going to compare Nazis to Star Wars?
Hey, listen. No, that's a legitimate thing.
That's a
Yeah,
legitimate thing.
compare
That's-
Nazis to start with the Empire.
the
Yeah.
Empire was
Yeah.
based off of that.
It's just
But-
so
I mean, we just
fucking-
said neo-Nazis in the First Order when we started.
But
Yeah,
that's
we
the
did,
thing.
and I felt really weird about it.
Everybody's always saying even though the last Jedi was subvert expectations, it was a better film in general than the Rise of Skywalker, but it really wasn't because it acted like it was the final act in a soap opera. Kills off the villain, you have no idea. Doesn't set up a new villain, so we have the same villain, and that wasn't his trajectory the entire film. You have a ridiculous 8-hour chase scene that moved nothing forward. The film doesn't move anything in a direction that could have meaningful resolution. All it does is subvert every expectation to tear down the structure. So you can't have a third film going where The Last Jedi was going, because The Last Jedi wasn't going anywhere. It went nowhere.
But that was the point. It was a middle piece where it could have gone to end. But and
bullshit,
if you would have
The Empire Strikes Back went somewhere.
But if you look at
and ended on a bad note.
But you can't compare.
But you have to, because if it's a second film and you know there's a third one, you have to set up your third act.
No, true. But that's what I'm saying. The Colin Trevorrow script and story would have been way better, because it took those pieces. It took, like I'm saying, those pieces and created something new that still connected to The Force Awakens.
That's true.
And that's the whole point of the third film in the trilogy.
So I want to point out something about the names of these films that I have a problem with. Star Wars, The Force Awakens. Fucking never went to sleep. Luke Skywalker didn't stop. He was training people. The Force never stopped. It's not just like, oh man, where's that Force been for a while? Hey, Rey. Rey's got the Force. She brought it back. It's awake. Yeah. The Last Jedi. Nah. There's two of them out there. And like I get like two, I get the whole like, you know, well, Kylo Ren's not really a Jedi because the Jedi was this and the Sith were that, and you know, get me caught up in the terminology, whatever. And then the third one, Rise of Skywalker. No, it's the end. Like she's not doing anything else. Like that's it. It was, you could call it the Rose or the Rizid. Past tense. The Skywalker did what it set out to do, and the arc was complete, but you know, it was really just like, it should have been the retirement of Skywalker.
Honestly, I'm going to go out and say it. I think The Last Jedi and Rise of the Skywalker just shouldn't have happened. Period.
No, they shouldn't.
Both of them.
You're right. They shouldn't.
And do you think that it should have just been The Force Awakens and then boom?
It should have been.
We should have had.
It should have been different.
It should have been the way it was originally intended.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with having too many cooks in the kitchen. Like you get too many ideas, and giving them too much freedom over the initial structured plot is a problem. To wrap it up, because we're cutting close on time here. The Force Awakens set up character growth. The Last Jedi shoehorns characters, it expedites character growth on certain characters, and it shouldn't, because it's not cohesive with anything the universe has established. And you can't ignore those factors. You can't ignore those factors, just like I can't ignore that maybe Luke could have gone the way he went. But at the same time, this universe structured it a certain way. And then JJ, for what he did the best with what he had. They couldn't go with the Colin Trevorrow script, because the Colin Trevorrow script technically leads to more movies. And that's not where they were going. They had to finish it.
They could have closed it out.
They could have closed it, but it wouldn't have worked. I
think it would have. I think it would have worked a lot better
on film. I think it just.
I don't know if it would have been Force Awakens like level, but it could have been better than.
They would have had a weak third act, no matter what they went with.
Well, that's usually the case with most.
And that's what happens. They would have had. So they said, would we have a weak third act and still keep this debacle of the Last Jedi going, or do we have a third act that can redeem it in some eyes of the fans? As a fan, the film redeems it to an extent, but it doesn't. It still has the same faults. It still has character. The only character that grows in this entire trilogy is Kylo Ren, and I give them credit on that. He's the only one that has a growth arc.
I mean, but like I said, most third acts in films are the weakest, except
Die Hard 3.
No, that's a great film, but no, it's not the best.
RoboCop 3?
No. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, yeah.
Is the Dollars trilogy, Man with No Name, whatever you want to call it.
All those films are good.
Yeah.
All three of them.
But that is the only movie trilogy that I can think of where each film bests itself, bests the other one.
So we should probably talk about that one.
Maybe eventually.
Maybe next time. Because I love that trilogy.
I don't know about next time. I don't know if I want to do another
that's
trilogy.
a lot. Especially The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is like a 3-hour film.
A 3-hour film.
Yeah. But most third movies are the weakest. Even in my beloved Dark Knight trilogy, which to me is my favorite trilogy of films.
Yep.
To me, The Dark Knight Rises is my least favorite, even though it's an amazing fucking film. But it's not on the same level. Look at Back to the Future 3, Return of the Jedi even. I mean...
Yeah.
I
agree with you on those points.
But to wrap it up,
Yeah.
my ranking, which I guess we can talk about, just say our rankings for the Star Wars sequel trilogy. I would say Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker.
My ranking as far as from best to worst, and I guess I'm the fucking asshole here. Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, Force Awakens. Yeah.
That's me hitting my
It's
head against the
opposite, yeah.
fucking microphone.
Yeah.
My ranking is The Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker. I don't even rank The Last Jedi.
So it's just a 2-film thing for you.
Fucking don't. It's just it's the Force Awakens. You had an 8-hour mini episode, and then and then it cuts straight to The Last Jedi, where he's on a tampon rampage, and she's trying to figure out whether she wants the D or
That's
she
a great name
doesn't.
for a punk band.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Tampon Rampage. Yeah.
It's a really good one.
I think all right. Just to throw this out there real quick, I know we should have cut it a while ago. I want to do a follow-up episode like later on this year, diving into this trilogy, not comparing it to the previous stuff, and really diving into some of the other characters because they did some really cool things with their characters, and they introduced a lot of neat concepts that we didn't talk about because we're so angry.
Yeah.
So later on, let's do that.
But you know, other people talk. You know, there's plenty of other.
There's plenty of other stuff.
Other stuff.
Everybody
Star
knows
Wars,
Rose
everyone's
is
talking about
crying.
it.
But plenty of other people are talking about Rey
exactly.
and Finn. And
We're talking about just the film's cohesiveness, and really, we talked a lot about Luke Skywalker, but
Like way too much.
you can't though.
well,
You
but
can't.
it's Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, but
Luke
like he's
Skywalker.
like not. Fuck it.
But
whatever, I'm done.
Kylo Ren's arc was great. He
Yeah.
at least had a solid thing, but we'll say that. All right, so what are we reviewing next week,
Oh, I don't know.
fellers?
I don't know,
we haven't
man.
even discussed
We haven't
this.
discussed it.
So we probably should.
be a
It came off the
surprise.
holidays.
So maybe a surprise. I was gonna bring up something. We'll probably discuss it
I
later.
got an idea too.
I
but,
kind
yeah.
of
I
had
don't. So
something.
whatever. Yeah.
But thanks for listening to this rant. I don't know if it's
Yes.
gonna piss people off or not.
It
but-
probably
It's Star
will.
Wars. It's gonna piss everyone off.
If
It's like
if
talking politics these days.
Yeah.
we're gonna have the fandom, and then we're gonna have the casual fandom.
I'm a part of the casual fan.
And essentially, like, I mean, everybody's technically a casual fan unless you're
Okay,
like-
but like when it comes to Star Wars. Anyways, we're over time.
all right, we're over time. Thank you, folks. We'll see you next week.
See you.
Bye.